Hello and welcome to the MAC weather page for what could be a very stormy Monday, and we expect a potential for a lot of power outages as we have a combination of significant freezing rain and some very high winds across the warning area, which is about the northern three-quarters of the lower peninsula, under a winter storm warning for freezing rain amounts of a quarter to a half inch, locally more, and I think it could be significantly more. Much will depend on whether or not we get sleet and snow that'll hold down some of the freezing rain amounts, but it looks like it could be quite an afternoon and night across much of the area. And again, I expect widespread power outages across much of the state, especially across south central up into northern lower Michigan. And across southern lower Michigan, you can see winter weather advisories for around the 10th to as much as a quarter of an inch of ice there, and freezing rain advisories across southwest lower Michigan. That's part of the National Weather Service out of Indiana, where they fall under. But again, most of the area under a winter storm warning. And in combination with all that ice, we expect sustained winds to be around 20 to 30, maybe 35 miles per hour once we get into late afternoon, with gusts possibly up to around 50 miles per hour. And if we get a coating on ice, that's going to bring down limbs and trees across many power lines, and that's going to affect a large part of the state, I'm afraid. If we look at the current local weather here in Breckenridge, the biggest things that stick out is you see our winds are out of the north-northeast. That's due to a big Canadian high pressure system off to our north, and with north and northeast winds coming in, that's feeding a lot of dry air. You can see dew points down to 17. So as that precipitation falls, we're going to see evaporative cooling. We're already down to 24 degrees here in the northern parts of the MAC area. And if we take a look at the weather map this morning, you can see that low pressure system quite a ways away down and across the eastern portions of Oklahoma, where they've had a lot of tornado fatalities here over the last 5 days. In fact, I think we were at 32 for the year, and 23 of them coming in the last 5 days. So a very bad situation down there with lots of tornadoes, flooding, very heavy crippling snows across parts of the Texas area back into Colorado. And that low pressure system will move off to the north. It'll occlude, so we'll never really get into the warm sector. And with all that precipitation running into this cold high pressure, it's going to fall in the form of snow, sleet across much of the area to begin with, and then transition over to a pretty prolonged period of freezing rain. And then you combine that, as that low moves closer to this high, we're going to see the pressure gradient really tighten up, and we could see, again, wind gusts around 50 miles per hour by this evening. And by 7 o'clock tonight, that low still in Missouri, heading on to the northeast, and you can see all the lower peninsula under sleet and freezing rain, frozen precipitation, maybe snow as well. And if we look at some of the precipitation amounts, this one here off the Canadian model shows over the next couple of days, most of it coming here in the next 24 hours, between an inch and a half of precipitation across almost the entire lower peninsula. And if we look at the 06 run of the GFS, this is some Freddy Krueger stuff. Pretty scary. Here are wind gusts today expected from this afternoon into at least midnight. And there's some areas between 45 to 55 knot winds, which would be around 50 to as much as 60 mile per hour wind gusts. And so you can see why we're very concerned about massive power outages across the area. And if we look at the precipitation off the GFS as of this morning, it's really bumped up since the previous runs, showing much of the area between 1 to as much as 2 inches of precipitation across southwest lower Michigan. And if we look at its snowfall prediction, this is crazy. 15 to 20 inches of snow could fall across areas from around Muskegon to Saginaw. Now, the one thing to consider is that these are not going to be anywhere near what I think they'll be. I think maybe about a third of that, because much of this frozen precipitation that is showing up as snow will be in the form of sleet and freezing rain. So these numbers should not be nearly as high, maybe only a few inches, but it certainly is concerning when you see snow all the way down into northern Ohio. What at the very least that's telling us is that temperatures are going to be cold enough for much of this precipitation, probably for a longer period, is going to be in the frozen form. So again, this is a very significant storm, and I would hope that if you have a generator or have some plans, get those in place. You should have several hours this morning of good weather to get things prepared. Get out there and get some extra milk and water and whatever. Thanks for stopping by, and have a great day. Be safe later on today. And thanks for stopping by, and 73s to all.